Okay, this video is going to be on aggression. Aggression is a very misunderstood topic in dog training and dogs in general. And the thing to remember about aggression is that it is a perfectly normal behavior. It serves a bunch of different purposes, it has a bunch of different motives, and it is completely normal for any animal to display aggression under the right set of circumstances. What happens in the dog world is we expect dogs to not display aggression. We hold dogs to an unbelievably high standard where it's okay for any other animal, even humans, to be very aggressive and be able to justify aggression. But for some reason, when it comes to dogs, a lot of people don't seem to understand that it is also normal, that there are reasons for a dog to be aggressive. Now, this is understandable and somewhat acceptable if it is coming from a pet owner, from a average pet person, because they don't know, they don't understand. What's happened with society is we've been conditioned for several decades that dogs are supposed to be these angels. You know, we got movies, we got TV shows, we got even children's books, we got stories, cartoons that depict dogs as these just super sweet beings without any sense of aggression or anything like that. So when we see that in our dogs, when we see that with the average dog, for some reason we look at that, and when it doesn't fit the model that we've been shown and we've been conditioned to accept, that's when we have a problem. That's when your average pet owner doesn't understand. You know, they've watched the movies, they've read the stories, they've seen the cartoons. All of that just kind of gets challenged when their dog growls, when their dog bites, and they freak out. So it is understandable when a pet owner sees this or thinks this way. It is, however, unacceptable when a dog trainer feels the same way. And what I hear a lot when it comes to, you know, this type of flawed view about aggression from dog trainers is when they say things like, you know, rehabilitation, or you know, we're going to fix the dog, or we're going to get rid of the aggression. You're not getting rid of the aggression. What you are doing is you are clarifying misunderstandings. That's your job as a dog trainer. Because it is a perfectly normal behavior under the right set of circumstances. It would actually be not normal for a dog to not act aggressive when the environment or when the situation calls for it. So dog trainers are typically not very well educated in this area of dog training when it comes to aggression. This is another thing about dog trainers is we also, in general, not we, all of us, but in general, dog trainers are taught to believe that as dog trainers, we have this responsibility to get rid of aggression, to you know, to not accept it and completely just you know, change the dog. And that's not the proper understanding of what's happening when you see aggression. When you see aggression, you shouldn't think, how do we get rid of it? When you see aggression, your first thought should be, what's happening? What's causing the aggression? You know, what could be sending this dog the message that he needs to behave in this manner? And once you understand it, then you're in a better position to address it. Because to, you know, just quote unquote get rid of the aggression, you know, to just quote unquote tell the dog to knock it off, it just implies that you're temporarily capping it, that you're letting the dog know, stop doing that, which is understandable to a degree, and it is you know, expected to a degree. But to just flat out say, well, we don't want to see aggression, so let's just get rid of it, let's just rehabilitate the dog, it really shows a lack of understanding when people say that. So for example, let's say you tell me my dog keeps growling and biting my kids. You know, my dog growls at my kids, he bites them, he doesn't like them, he's being aggressive towards my kids. And you tell me that, it would not be the best thing for me to say, well, let's just fix that. Let's just get rid of that behavior and let's make it so your dog doesn't do that. But rather what I want to do is I want to understand a little bit further what's happening. So I'm going to ask, you know, what is it what is it that you think is causing your dog to do this? How do your children interact with your dog? Because by doing a little bit of digging and by finding out and looking at the bigger picture, I might actually find out that your children are being very inappropriate with your dog, that your children are grabbing and pulling your dog, that your children are just not leaving your dog alone, that, you know, they're constantly harassing it, making it uncomfortable, cornering it, because children do that. Children don't know this stuff. So they see a fluffy animal with 4 paws, and they don't know how to behave appropriately, and stupid parents will just record it, encourage it, because they don't know. I guess I shouldn't say stupid. A lot of people just don't know. And so when you have that and you tell me, my dog doesn't like my children, my dog keeps growling at my children, he keeps biting them, rather than me telling you, okay, let's get rid of that, if you tell me this is what's happening, this is what my children are doing, what I'm going to do, because I want your dog to be successful and I want you to also be successful, what I'm going to do is I'm going to educate you in proper handling of your dog and proper interaction of your children with your dog, so that rather than just making the dog uncomfortable and having the dog deal with being pulled and grabbed and cornered and harassed, we actually then teach the children how to properly behave, how to properly interact with the dog. That would be the much better approach. Because in this hypothetical scenario, your dog is not the problem. In this hypothetical scenario, your children are the problem. And it is a hypothetical scenario in this short clip, but it's actually a very, very common problem with people who have young children and have pets. And this is one of the reasons that children are typically bit by their pet dogs on a yearly basis. Statistically, they have a much higher of getting bit by their pets. And it makes sense. You know, they're children, they're younger, they're smaller, and typically they don't know how to interact with their dogs. So this is what I mean by addressing the issue. This is what I mean by finding out what the motivation is. Now, we find out that your dog is not being harassed by your children. If we find out that your children are actually very polite with your dog, and it is your dog that is not being fair, and we find out that it is actually your dog that is going out of his way to do this and harm your children and threaten your children, then that's a different story. There could still be a misunderstanding that we could address, that we should address, but now we can actually focus on the dog and not so much the environment, and not so much the circumstances that are creating or triggering the aggression. This was a very short video on this topic. Obviously, there's a lot more that goes into dog aggression, and I just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea on this very misunderstood topic, which is aggression. That, remember, it is normal, and there's more to it than just getting rid of it or quote unquote rehabbing the dog. We'll talk more about this on future videos. In the meantime, if you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe.